It doesn't have to be this miserable thing, this dark cloud hanging over your head the entire day. How's it going, guys? Miguel here from CFS Recovery. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about something that completely changed my perspective on symptom flare-ups and adjustment periods. If you don't know me, my name is Miguel. I'm 27 years old, and from the age of 19 to about 23 and a half, I had really bad CFS, to the point where for 8 months, I was actually completely bedridden, had to go live with my grandparents, and actually for those last 2 months, I was in the hospital in the intensive care unit and another wing where they really had to help me every single day. At my worst, I was spoon-fed. I had to have my food blended because I had to drink it because my body was so broken that I could barely even chew. I've experienced pretty much any symptom you can name of. At my worst, I had probably over 40 symptoms, and today I run a thriving business. I can exercise, I can run, I travel, I can eat whatever I want. I sleep like a baby, and I had insomnia for most of my life. So look at me as proof that you can absolutely recover from something like CFS or a hypersensitive nervous system issue. Now, for the topic of this video, it's a concept that just kind of hit me the other day when it was rainy and it was cloudy, and I thought to myself, you know what, just because it's cloudy and rainy and the weather isn't that great doesn't mean it's going to be a bad day. You know, I'm not going to let weather dictate how I feel about today. I'm not just going to write off today and think, today's crappy because of the weather. And it made me think back to recovery when I used to have symptom flare-ups. And my mindset back then was essentially, if I have a symptom flare-up, if I have lots of fatigue, lots of pain, then this is gonna be a bad day. And immediately, from waking up, I think within the first 30 seconds, I would kind of examine my body, figure out what the level of symptoms I was experiencing was, and I would decide if it's gonna be a decent day or a bad day. And most of the time it was a bad day. And then I realized, you know what? Your symptoms can change throughout the day. And even if they don't change, even during adjustment periods, it doesn't mean you're completely paralyzed and debilitated. You can still smile and laugh in the rain, just like how you can smile during adjustment periods. You don't have to have this grim, suffering face the whole entire time you are in a symptom flare-up. And if you don't know what an adjustment period is, make sure to click this video up here and check out where I explain exactly what an adjustment period is. People get it confused, an adjustment period and a crash. A lot of people say, I'm always crashing. That's not true. A crash happens rarely, and crashes are big. You need help eating when you have a crash. That's how severe it is. Your pain and your symptoms are through the roof, almost unbearable. Anything other than that is basically an adjustment period. So just because you have to pull back and take it easy that day and your symptoms are more present, it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy yourself a little bit. It doesn't mean that you can listen to an interesting podcast. A friend can come over and you can chat for 15 to 20 minutes. It doesn't mean those things. A lot of times people will just write off the entire day. And I know because I used to do that all the time. I used to completely write off my day if I didn't feel the best in the morning. But in an adjustment period, it doesn't mean the end of the world. Just think about it as if it was a cloudy day and it was drizzling or raining a little bit. Does that mean the sun is never going to shine again? No, absolutely not. But when you're in the thick of a symptom flare-up, it's not just the physical symptoms that are going, it's also the emotions. So a lot of times it might feel like you're never going to get out of it. It might feel like the clouds are never going to part and the sunshine is going to come through. But you know deep inside that always happens. And the only reason you can think that way is because you are in a highly emotional state when your symptoms are flaring up. Like I said, just like how when it's a rainy day, there's no point getting upset over it because you know the sun is going to be out next week and you don't have control over it anyways. But what you do have control over is your response to that stressor. Now, whether I wouldn't really call it a stressor, but you decide how that day is going to go when it comes to weather. When it comes to CFS, it doesn't have to be this miserable thing, this dark cloud hanging over your head the entire day. Although I used to feel like that. You know, I felt like when my symptoms were flaring up, I couldn't even smile. It was not joyful at all, right? It doesn't have to be that way. You don't need to make it harder than it already is. You know, you do the best you can with the energy that you do have, right? And the symptoms that you do have. It's not that you have to stop everything you're doing and put your whole life on pause. You just really have to slow things down. Or you may have to take some breaks, right? You may have to sit on the couch, take a nap midday, lie in bed a little bit more, be a lazy couch potato. Sometimes that is absolutely needed. And that's okay, because I guarantee you, as bad as your your situation seems right now, it's not all bad. We can get into this one-sided perception that everything is bad when I'm in an adjustment period. I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that. And we get into a really negative mindset. But I guarantee you, there are people out there right now who work 80 to 100 hours a week who wish they could sit on the couch and do nothing for even 1 hour. There's people who wish they could take naps during the day. There's people who wish that they didn't have all of their responsibility, right? So we don't realize that we can actually enjoy ourselves even just a little bit during adjustment periods. It doesn't have to be a complete write-off, a few hours or a day or several days. If your adjustment period lasts several days, it's not like you lose those 5 to 6 or 7 days of time. You could still do things during that time. You can read a little bit of a book, you can listen to a little bit of a podcast, whatever you can do. Basically, you have to understand that the ball doesn't have to stop rolling, right? The ball is still rolling forward, and allow yourself to smile here and there during adjustment periods, right? If someone was really upset over the weather, you'd look at them and say, why? You can't control the clouds. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you make the day harder than it already is? Or why would you make the day harder on yourself like that? Yeah, there's gonna be a bit more traffic, the roads are a bit more slippery, but why would you also be upset on top of that, right? When it comes to CFS, obviously it's a little bit different than weather, but similar analogies, right? You know that the symptoms are gonna clear up eventually. You know that eventually you're gonna recover, because if other people are recovering from all around the world, and maybe there's people in more extreme situations than yourself, but you don't realize that they can do it, then there's no reason that you can't do it. It's not like they're some alien or some superhuman or got a magic potion out of some secret lab and they recovered. No, they followed the recovery principles, and there's people recovering in our Recovery Jumpstart program all the time. So recovery is absolutely possible. And when you know that eventually you will reach that place, even if 1% of you knows that's gonna happen, it's gonna make going through these symptom flare-ups so much easier and a lot less painful. Well, one, because you realize once you learn the recovery science to all of this, you learn that 1, flare-ups are completely normal. Number 2, you don't have to completely stop everything you're doing during an adjustment period. You could still live life just at a much lower level and at a much slower pace. And number 3, the day is not completely ruined if you are in an adjustment period. You could still find things that you enjoy doing, right? You could still cook some light food. You could still eat some tasty things, depending on your situation, you will still be able to do things, right? So you need to get away from this black and white thinking that if you're out of an adjustment period, it's okay and things are good. And if you're in an adjustment period, everything's bad. We need to get out of this black and white thinking. There's good and bad happening at the very same time, always, right? When you're in a symptom flare-up, it's just easier for your mind to gravitate towards all the negative things. So that's all I wanted to share in this video. If you wanted some help just getting your mindset right and being around other people who are a few steps ahead of you, who are ready to pull you forward and just inspire you, if you wanted to learn more about the Recovery Jumpstart program and learn exactly how we help people go from being bedridden to walking, go from being jobless to being able to work again full-time, to go from being housebound to taking vacations with their family to different countries. If you wanted to learn how we get people through that process, then make sure to click the link down below. You can apply for the Recovery Jumpstart program. We're always looking for new thrivers to help. Of course, there's only so many coaches in the program, so there's a limited amount of spots available, but we regularly do intakes where we will actually help you get your life back. You get to work directly with the coaches. You have an assigned Thriver coach. We have check-in calls. We have small group coaching calls. We have large group coaching calls. You get access to video modules where we lay out exactly what needs to be done in the correct order so that you can unlock thriving health. So I hope this video sheds a lot of light on these concepts of symptom flare-ups and how you can reframe how you see these adjustment periods. But always remember, you are a thriver and you are just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health. I'll see you in the next video.